They don't talk about your face because it's handsome. They talk about it because it doesn't ask for approval. Your face doesn't chase validation, doesn't perform, and doesn't lean forward, hoping to be received. It doesn't explain itself to strangers or soften its edges to be palatable. It stays still, grounded, unmoved. In rooms full of noise where people trade expressions like currency and wear smiles as armor, your face becomes silence, and silence is unbearable to those who need validation to breathe. There's a reason conversations stutter when you enter, a reason laughter loses its rhythm, and a reason glances linger half a second too long before darting away. Your face makes people feel observed, even when you say nothing, because it doesn't beg to be read. It lets them read themselves. Your face carries memory, not nostalgia, but experience, the kind earned quietly, without witnesses. It looks like it has survived pressure without turning bitter, like it learned restraint instead of resentment. It looks like it knows more than it's saying and is perfectly comfortable leaving things unsaid. It looks like it could disappear tomorrow and never explain why, and that possibility unsettles people. Most faces are negotiations, subtle pleas to be liked, accepted, and included. Yours looks like it already decided. You don't wear emotion on your skin for public consumption. You let it pass through you unannounced and unadvertised. Your face is calm but not empty, controlled but not numb, still but never passive. It has an aura, and an aura makes people project. Some see danger because they fear what isn't needy. Some see discipline because they recognize what they lack. Some see something they can't name, and that unnamed presence disturbs them the most. They whisper because they don't have access. They speculate because they don't have context. They analyze because your face refuses to reassure them, refuses to tell them they're safe, and refuses to shrink. This is not vanity. This is presence. Your face has become a mirror, and most people don't like what they see reflected back. Number one, the face that refuses to explain itself. There's a specific psychological disturbance created by a face that does not explain itself, a quiet disruption that moves beneath language and bypasses social scripts entirely. Most people travel through life, broadcasting intention without realizing it, leaking permission through micro-expressions, negotiating safety with raised brows, softened mouths, and darting eyes that ask to be accepted before they even speak. Your face does none of this. It arrives complete, unedited, without apology or invitation. It does not signal how it wants to be treated. And because the human mind is addicted to cues and patterns, this absence registers as tension. People stare because your face interrupts their expectation loop. They look again because it does not correct itself. It does not rush to reassure them. It stays neutral, not vacant, not aggressive, but anchored. This neutrality is not emptiness, it is containment. And containment creates pressure. When people cannot read you, they do not accept the ambiguity. They fill it. This is where projection begins. The mind cannot tolerate a blank surface, so it paints. They decide you are dangerous, superior, distant, wounded, arrogant, disciplined, broken, powerful, cold, and enlightened. None of these meanings originate from you. They are borrowed from the observer's unresolved internal narratives. Your face becomes a psychological mirror, and mirrors are threatening when they reflect questions someone has been avoiding about themselves. This is why your presence carries more weight than your behavior. You do not dominate space through volume, gestures, or forced charisma. You dominate through stillness, Stillness communicates certainty, and certainty destabilizes those who live in constant internal bargaining. Your face looks like it has already settled the argument of identity. It does not seek confirmation. It does not scan the room for feedback. It does not adjust to be liked. That level of self-containment is rare, and rarity is perceived as power, whether you intend it or not. In insecure systems, unresolved authority feels like a threat. People feel watched even when you are silent, because your expression does not bend toward them. And so conversations about you begin the moment you leave the room. Not because of anything you said, not because of what you did, but because your silence left a cognitive gap they could not close. Your face did not negotiate meaning, and that unfinished equation continues to echo in their minds long after you are gone. Number 2, emotional containment and the fear it creates. Your face suggests something most people cannot tolerate: emotional containment, a level of internal order that disrupts the unspoken agreements of social life. You do not spill your inner weather into the room. You do not recruit others to stabilize your feelings. You are not leaking tension, need, or reassurance through your expressions. This alone places you outside the social norm, because most human groups are held together by constant emotional exchange. Smiles are used to soothe uncertainty. Frowns signal disapproval. Laughter lubricates belonging. Anger negotiates hierarchy. These signals circulate like currency, keeping the group psychologically solvent. Your face interrupts this system. It withholds emotional currency. And when currency stops circulating, anxiety begins to rise. People feel it immediately, even if they cannot name it. They start watching you more closely. They scan for tells, slips, micro-expressions, and anything that confirms you are emotionally dependent in the same way they are. They want proof that you will play the same game. But your face does not reward surveillance. It does not perform. It does not flinch on cue. It remains measured, contained, and self-governed. To those who rely on others to regulate their emotions, this restraint feels unnatural. They label it coldness, arrogance, or detachment, because they cannot imagine feeling without displaying. In reality, what your face signals is mastery. It suggests that emotion moves through you, not over you, that you experience intensity without being hijacked by it, that you have already processed pain instead of turning it into a public identity. This is deeply unsettling to people who are still bleeding in public and still outsourcing their stability to reactions, validation, and attention. Your composure feels like a mirror they did not consent to look into. They interpret your calm as judgment, even when none exists, because your presence highlights their lack of internal control. The truth is simpler and far more threatening. Your face shows what emotional sovereignty looks like in real time. It shows self-containment, self-trust, and independence from the emotional economy that most people depend on to feel real. And sovereignty, when observed up close, destabilizes anyone whose sense of self requires constant external confirmation to remain intact. Number 3, the aura of experience without explanation. There is a difference between youthfulness and innocence, and your face does not wear innocence anymore. It does not look naive, unfinished, or easily persuaded. It looks experienced in a way that time alone cannot produce. Not aged, not hardened, not bitter, but informed. Your expression carries the quiet weight of recognition, the kind that comes from observing without reacting, from watching patterns repeat until they reveal their structure. Your face reflects an understanding of human behavior that goes deeper than words. deeper than morality and deeper than appearances. It shows that you have seen how intentions shift under pressure, how smiles change when power enters the room, and how loyalty bends when incentives appear. This knowledge settles into the face differently. It does not announce itself. It does not demand validation. It simply exists, and because it exists, it creates an aura that cannot be rehearsed or manufactured. This is not confidence learned from posture drills or motivational language. It is the calm that forms after you have looked behind the curtain and realized how predictable the machinery really is. People sense this immediately, often before they understand why. They feel that you are not here to be impressed, that you are not searching for approval, and that you have already seen the ending of the story they are performing. This is why your face attracts two opposing reactions at the same time. Respect from those who recognize depth and restraint, from those who know what it costs to arrive at this stillness, and hostility from those who depend on illusion, from those whose identity requires constant reinforcement through performance. You do not expose anyone. You do not confront. You do not accuse. Your face does something far more destabilizing. It looks like it remembers, and memory is dangerous to systems built on denial, exaggeration, and selective amnesia. This is why people choose their words carefully around you, why jokes lose their momentum mid-sentence, why exaggerated confidence softens into something more honest or more defensive. Your face does not challenge egos directly. It bypasses them. It makes unnecessary displays feel transparent, even childish. It renders performance inefficient. And for those who survive by acting, by posturing, by projecting versions of themselves they do not live up to, this quiet recognition is deeply unsettling, because your face does not argue, it observes. An observation, when combined with understanding, removes the stage entirely. Number 4, living in the shadow without being invisible. Your face belongs to someone who understands the shadow, not as darkness, but as depth, as a place where awareness matures instead of collapses. There is a quiet gravity in your expression, a stillness that doesn't beg for validation or bend toward reaction. You are not desperate to be seen, and that absence of hunger gives you weight. You exist fully even when unnoticed, fully formed even when no one is watching. This is rare. Most people begin to dissolve the moment attention leaves them. Their expressions soften into uncertainty. Their posture caves inward. Their energy leaks outward, searching for mirrors, approval, and confirmation that they are still real. You do not do this. Your face remains unchanged whether you are observed or alone, whether the room is loud or empty. That consistency signals something unmistakable: independence. And independence unsettles systems built on need. Social structures survive on dependency, on shared insecurity, on people requiring each other's gaze to feel solid. Your face suggests you could leave at any moment and remain intact, that you are not anchored by applause, approval, or attachment, that you are not bargaining your presence for acceptance. This makes people uneasy because it exposes how trapped they feel by comparison. They need the room to validate them. You do not. They need the audience to confirm their identity. You do not. They need reaction, response, and reassurance. You move without it. Your face looks complete in isolation, as if silence does not diminish you but sharpens you. That completeness is confronting. It forces others to recognize the cost of their own dependence, the compromises they made to belong, and the freedom they slowly negotiated away. in exchange for comfort. When they look at you, they sense a version of themselves that once existed before performance became survival. That is why your face becomes a subject of fascination. It isn't beauty they are reacting to, not really. It is self-possession. It is the quiet authority of someone who does not need permission to exist. People talk about your face because it reminds them of a freedom they abandoned long ago, a state of being whole without witnesses, grounded without anchors, and present without asking to be acknowledged. And once they notice that in you, they cannot unsee what is missing in themselves. Number 5, the ghost effect. Presence without participation. You are present but not absorbed, engaged with the moment yet never dissolved into it. Your face registers the room the way still water reflects the sky, accurate, calm, untouched by disturbance. You see everything but nothing sticks to you. This creates what people instinctively sense as a ghost effect. You exist in the space, but you are not woven into its emotional fabric. You are there without being claimed, watching without performing, listening without signaling allegiance. And this unsettles people more than open hostility ever could. Human interaction is built on feedback loops, nods, smiles, tension, mirroring. These signals reassure others that the social contract is intact. Your face offers none of that. It does not approve, it does not resist, it simply observes. In doing so, it removes itself from the unspoken bargaining system that governs most rooms. People cannot place you. They cannot tell whether you agree, disagree, judge, or disengage. You exist outside the predictable map of behavior they rely on for safety. And ambiguity, when it cannot be read or steered, quietly activates fear. Not because it threatens, but because it cannot be managed. Your face does not escalate emotion. It does not mirror energy. It does not rush to soothe discomfort. It stays centered, anchored, and unreactive. This centering creates a subtle imbalance. Social gravity shifts. Others begin compensating without realizing it. They speak more carefully. They explain themselves when no explanation was requested. Their posture changes. Their confidence either sharpens or collapses. You say nothing, yet the room starts adjusting itself around you. This is not dominance through force. It is dominance through absence. Your face becomes a silent axis, a fixed point that exposes everyone else's movement. People project onto you because they must. In the absence of signals, they supply their own meaning. Some see depth, some see judgment, some see authority. But all of it comes from them, not you. And that is the source of your gravity. You are not pulling attention, you are removing resistance. Your stillness highlights their noise. Your restraint reveals their urgency. In a world addicted to reaction, your face becomes a quiet disruption. Not loud enough to provoke, not warm enough to invite, but steady enough to reorient the entire space without lifting a finger. Number 6, the final signal, self-containment as power. The final reason everyone talks about your face is the simplest and the hardest to accept, because it confronts people without saying a word. Your face signals that you do not need them, not their validation, not their approval, not their emotional energy. It communicates sufficiency, and sufficiency is rare in a world built on quiet hunger. Most faces are negotiating something even when the mouth is silent. They ask for attention, for agreement, for reassurance, for desire, for safety, and for permission to exist comfortably in the room. Your face asks for nothing. That absence of asking is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is not indifference. It is completion. You are present without reaching, grounded without clinging, and steady without borrowing strength from the reactions of others. To people who live by exchange and approval, this completeness feels threatening. They misread it as arrogance because they confuse need with connection, dependence with warmth, and self-containment with coldness. What your face actually represents is inner alignment. You know who you are before the room decides how it feels about you. You're not negotiating your identity in real time, not reshaping your posture, tone, or expression to fit the emotional temperature around you. You're not editing yourself for acceptance, and that freedom unsettles people more than open hostility ever could. Hostility can be fought or dismissed, but freedom reflects. When they look at your face, they are forced to feel the weight of their own adjustments, the years of soft compromises, and the times they swallowed a truth to be liked or dimmed themselves to belong. They talk because your face exposes the cost of those compromises without accusing them. They talk because your expression reminds them of who they might have been without fear, without constant self-monitoring, and without the need to perform emotional labor for approval. They talk because your face carries the quiet authority of someone who has already stepped beyond the need to be understood. And that authority does not beg, explain, or soften itself to be palatable. It simply exists. Your face is calm, but it is not passive. It is still, but it is not empty. It is the look of someone who has made peace with themselves. And peace is disruptive in a world addicted to tension. People sense that you are not waiting to be chosen, and that realization destabilizes the unspoken hierarchy they live by. So they talk, they speculate, and they project, because ignoring a person who does not need them feels like losing leverage. And that is exactly why your face stays in their thoughts long after you have left the room.